Hello and a very warm welcome to this special virtual boot camp focused on getting ready for hybrid workplace organized by Tech Observer magazine in association with Citrix and Ananta. I'm Nisha Kumari, assistant editor of Tech Observer magazine. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you and your family are staying healthy and safe. As you know, the ongoing pandemic has created an unprecedented challenge, but despite that, we have witnessed a greater innovation in terms of how organizations empowered their workforce. Integrated platforms powered by digital technologies have ensured business continuity for enterprises of all sizes during the pandemic. Now, enterprises have realized that hybrid working is a reality and accelerating their remote workplace strategy by implementing tools and technologies. But providing enterprise grade security and experience to remote workers is not easy because a secure and scalable distribution workforce requires rethinking where and how teams works. So during this 1 hour powered packed keynote address, presentation and panel discussion, senior industry leaders and technology experts will join us to share their views on hybrid workplace strategy and the role of technology. So, on the behalf of Tech Observer magazine, Citrix and Ananta, I would like to welcome you to the virtual boot camp. Now, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, Mr. Prasanna Lohar, Chief Innovation Officer, ECP Bank, to deliver his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Hi, hi, very good afternoon. I think this is a very right time to talk about how workplaces are going to change, right? So here onwards, what we had seen in the past, I think pandemic like a situation we never faced in our whole life. Uh, Started in February, early February, March 2020. I think initial few days very fantastic, right? So we always felt like work from home is a future now. But I think the actual when at a DCB bank or any of those organizations where I interacted, I could see that work from may not really work on a longer term, right? After 18, 19 months, when we have survived through pandemic, what we have seen, it all depends upon what type of organization you are, whether you are a service industry or whether you are a bank or whether you are a startup fintech or whether you are a new company with all new architecture, new digital stuff all around. Based upon type of organization, it will really will be decided whether it's gonna be a successful work from home, or it could be an hybrid mode, right? In my view, when I started coming back in the office, right, early this year, uh, it was so easy for me to interact with my team members, right? When I am in front of them, within a 3 to 4 minutes, I am able to complete my all the reviews, which is to take at least hours together when we are at home calling everybody or coming onto this Zoom kind of a meeting or some other Teams kind of a meeting environment. But friends, I think we'll have to really see how our generation is moving ahead, right? So we have seen in the past the different type of work, right? So if you see today, we might be banking with a branch network, right? So there is a huge set of a branch network for all the banks, right? uh, Whether we're gonna operate with the same branch network tomorrow in 2030, not sure, right? Because everything is available on the mobile phone now, or wherever you go, it will be available for you. So likewise, in every industry, you will see a lot of such kind of a transformations happening, right? So now, if you look at the ATM, which has started way back in 1967, one of those physical entities, right? And today, ATM is just like there, right? And you will not gather for that ATM ceremony. So likewise, there are new channels are coming in our life. So ATM was one of those primary channel apart from your branch. So internet banking or mobile banking has given different kind of attraction. Now look at work of the way we work, right, at our offices. Since pandemic, I think most of the development team or tech teams, right, are they're well versed with those remote mechanism to work with, right? But as we move further, we have seen during pandemic, lot of transformation has happened to your customers, right? Customer may not want to go to those branches. They will look at some kind of a mobile force come to their houses, right? Or come to it has to be available on the mobile phones. So this is something which we had seen in 1950s or 60s, right? Mobile branches, right? There was a necessity that moment, right? Automatically there was so difficult during those I think in some of those countries, right? So there were a lot of issues in how do we provide those banking services, right? In physically, we cannot have so many branches, right? So these guys had started mobile branch at that moment. So now it is not surprise, right? So banking will go out of the branch and go everywhere, right? If you look at, and this is how BFIs is progressing, right? From a bartering, physical, and so on. What I wanted to say that today we operate at a physical ecosystem, right, which wherein we have built a lot of offices in real estates. There are co-working spaces kind of economy, right? So likewise, today if you see this slide, there are few entities on a sharing economies, right? Digital media in form of Netflix or Amazon Prime. Earlier we used to visit those cinema halls, right? Now nobody would like to go back, right? Look at those automobile, right? Everybody's having their own car or their kind of a mode of transportation. But today Ola, Uber coming in will has resolved, right? Similarly, in the next 10 to 12 years we will have likewise. If you see, there are 10 12 entities like which is on sharing economy. You will see 450 plus entities on sharing economy, and one of them is a workspace, right? And if you see rise of workspace in the last 3 to 4 years is huge, right? I have seen some companies, one of the companies Devex has started with a zero workspace or a zero co-working space. Today they have at least 7. That kind of attraction we are seeing, and offices like us are willing to go there, right? Now overall traction, right? What all those other factors, right? Maybe banks are gonna be invisible future tomorrow. The most important factor today, there are different types of generations, and every generation has a way to work, right? If you ask some of the traditionalists, they would like to work at offices. They will come and work at offices. There are boomer Gen X, either based upon a role they would like to be at home, or they would like to be hybrid kind of mode work from office. But millennials are Gen 20, right? The challenge is in these two areas, right? Millennials are Gen 20, where either they would like to work from home now because they are now habitual with the work from home, right? There are a lot of schools, colleges operated last couple of years only from online schools, right? And there is a survey done by these schools to all these students and their parents. Would you like to ask your student to come back to the school? Answer is reasonably no, right? Similarly, in my personal capacity, in personal experience, when I deal with these millennials Gen 20, they are very much happy to be at home and work from home. But there are a lot of other disadvantages, right? So leadership growth happens not in silos, but in conjunction or in communication with a lot of people around you, a lot of problem statements around you, a lot of projects or a lot of work which happens around you in the offices. Sitting at home or sitting being at a millennials, and it may work for few months or for few days, right? But if you have to really grow, you need to be in communication with all the different sets of generations, right? So in my view, hybrid kind of a work gonna be there forever, right? So hybrid kind of a stuff will be there. So that is why it is very very important have a right digital integrated workflow strategy for every organization, right? What does it mean by right digital integrated workforce strategy? Like, would you like to really have a some key members always at office? So for example, at my office, some roles come three days a week, or some roles comes 1 day a week, or some roles comes 5 days a week, right? Or 6 days a week, based upon what type of that week. So that is helping us. So it means should not be pure play work from home or a pure play work from office. Now, based upon the traction or based upon the aspiration of every organization, they can really create their own kind of a hybrid model, right? So challenges, if you see, what are the challenges you'll see for this? When we do this remote desktop or through VPNs and so on, we are opening up so many threads for your developers and vendors and partners and so on. there are a lot of technologies available which safeguards, right? So when pandemic started, it was like opening up your network just like that, right? So during 3 to 4 years, or rather 3 to overall initial 12 months, we could have seen lot of surge of security attacks or fraudulent attacks, right? So while we are opening up our networks remotely to our partners or contact center agents or for our developers, as well as we are opening many more new digital channels in form of a fintech adoption, it's very very important to have a right security. Another angle, to have a in future of work, right? If you look at how future of work is changing our mindset and organization mindset. Earlier those were the days, right? So study followed by have a career and then retire, right? These days if you see the generations, not only generation but based upon type of organizations, your learning curve has increased and your engagement curve is also increased. Now if your organization has to be sustainable organizations in hybrid model, it's very very important to adopt a new paradigm, right? It's called so agility. And pandemic has taught us how to be more agile, right? How do we really keep engaged with your customers, or how do you keep engaged with your employees wherever they are. So there are challenges, there are opportunities with a kind of hybrid kind of a models, right? uh, Initial days organizations does struggle with physical operations versus digital operations, right? And slowly they have now adopted which are those operations pure play has to be physical. Say example, in a banking settlement reconciliation kind of operations are physical in mode, but at the same time it's opportunity for bank like us. How do we automate that, right? So every organization has its own orbit. How do we go to the next level? So while we are in a hybrid mode, or while we are in a physical operation or digital mode, it all depends upon the type of organization, whether it's a digital first organization or whether that legacy architecture kind of a mindset is there. So based upon the organization type, certainly they look at how do we move forward, right? So currently pandemic has taught us heavily lot many things. And if you see, there is a proverb, right? Who has taught you the better way to do digital transformation, whether it is a CEO, CTO, or some CXO, right? Most of the guys do give answer that that's a necessity, right? Pandemic has created that situation in front of you. How do we reach back to the customer when he's sitting at home, right? You cannot collect those documents, right? So we come up with some kind of a digital transformation, like through video KYC or some kind of a remote mechanism, right? How do we really have that pipeline of all those projects going on, right? So there are a lot of remote tools which has come up during this pandemic, huge internet adoption which we had seen, right? So although that's current today with pandemic is there, right? So uh, while we move further on onto this hybrid kind of environment, we need to take care of many more goals. So I think health was one of those goals. While we are faced a lot of coronavirus kind of impact, I think how do we take care of uh, our employees, how do you take care of our customers, how do you take care of every citizen in the country, right? So this is being taught around these 17 sustainable goals, right? So whatever you do, friends, either in hybrid or these things, we have seen it was a huge challenge for us at across all the junctions, right? Businesses, governments, right? Typically financial sector is attached to all of them for every kind of a transaction. So COVID is impacted heavily. There are other industries which has not impacted, primarily entertainment media. It was a huge profit for those OTTs and media platforms, right? We have to learn from these kind of situations and move further, right? So move further, that how do we survive post pandemic, how do we survive during our organization, what all those agendas which we have, right? We have to invest heavily on technologies and capabilities, right? So that we can improve the customer experience, and at the same time focus on operating cost reduction, either in form of a robotic process automation, some kind of a AI, some kind of a blockchain kind of ecosystem, right? So that we drive right digital transformation productivity for our customers. So I think it's a good opportunity. Though those organizations will be very very successful, who will really understand their orbit, right? Where they are, where their people are, where this the organization, how much digital adoption they have done, and what to do here onwards, right? So it's a opportunity for every organization, they need to understand 5 pillars. They need to understand what type of people they have, whether they want to get into hybrid mode. They need to understand how they can really move. So do they have that kind of a skill set who understand work from home as well as working at office together? They need to create that kind of a culture, right? Secondly, what are those processes are hindering around those so much of operations, right? Can we automate them in the next 5 years so that operation becomes more easy and less of human dependent? Third pillar, which is most important, is the technology. Are we adopting more on cloud or tomorrow's variables, or are you adopting some kind of a AI or a big data, right, wherein you can learn the data and give back those things to the, you can learn how employees are looking at their services, right? There are a lot of tools are coming which gauge or measures employee skill set while they are at home, while they are operating onto the laptop, right? Are they really opening their laptops? Are they really logging into, right? How much active they are in front of laptop? How is their facial expression, right? So likewise, technology adoption is very very important, just to gauge or just to take care of employees and the overall engagement of the employees. Similarly for your end users, right, customers and so on. A third thing which is around uh, having a partnership, right? Do we have a right partners who can provide a better conferencing tools or better platforms to work from home, right? Either for conducting those meetings, either to conducting big conferences and so on. I think heavily every organization started ordering. Finally, talk to your employees, talk to your customers. Are they okay, right? Are they really adopting this different kind of a culture? So that feedback will be very very helpful for us to really surpass those challenges and create a digital integrity around those work from home kind of scenarios. So I think it's a very interesting time for us to talk about work from home or a hybrid model or a pandemic kind of impact, right? How do we create a digital integrated workforces? How do we have a better strategy? So there are few initiatives which I did during this whole process, right? Video KYC adoption for our customers, or bringing all front office or all those workforce which operates physically at branches. We brought it down to the mobile app, right? So wherein we gauge their performance wherever they are, right? So or we come up with a some collaboration with some of the tech companies who provide those Zoom kind of environment rather than depend on Zoom. So can we not really have our own environment, right? A huge communication is required, right, whenever you are at work from home. So you need to have those tools. Apart from mails, there has to be better tools who can have a better communication kind of environment, right? So these things, if you can really capture, I think it makes sense for to resolve all those challenges, right, which are not helping work from home or digital integrated workforces. Security is very very important. You need to keep on doing assessments of your security boundaries with the help of your CISO and the tools. During pandemic we have seen these kind of a 3D printed houses, right? 3D printed houses, rather 3D printed bank branches also. Post pandemic, we have seen some of the banks tried providing cash through the drones or robots, right? While people are not coming, or branch officers are not coming at, you can rely on some kind of a robots, or you can rely on some manless branches, right, in the future. So I think while we keep on adopting these things, every organization need to see whether they are ready for industry 4.0. We are in mid of adoption. Every organization need to have that 5 pillar things, which is around uh, people, process, technology, talk about partnerships and the customer. So that your orbit can go to the next level, right? Every organization has its own orbit, right? How you have to benchmark where you want to go, right? Say example, there are some startups or Googles or Apples already said that we will work from home, and they are ready with all those technology and tools, and their people culture is ready. So if you want to reach there, you need to measure your strengths, right? You need to measure your strengths in form of what are people we have. You have to benchmark yourself, and how do we reach to the next level? So I think these are all some of the pointers which can really help, right? So yesterday it was a travel to branch, today it's a face to face or digital, right? uh, Maybe in the banking scenario today we are in the mid of a digital banking, but tomorrow's banking gonna be everywhere, banking, right? Wherever customer is there, wherever employee is there, they can work from anywhere, right? So that kind of things will come in form of a, when we land of a era of a 5G and augmented reality or virtual reality. There are a lot of experiments are happening through Facebook, Google's, and it's very important, right? What wave gonna come, right, in the future with the 5G and augmented reality. So I think thank you so much for inviting me here to talk about on this very important topic, how industry should be ready for this digital integrated workforce, how they can create strategy around people, process, technology, partnership with the right partners, and keep on talking with the customers and keep on talking with their employees. And that's how we can grow from or boost your organization's level from one level to another. Always take care of how do we really get into the next orbit through these kind of guidelines. So thank you so much, friends, for inviting me here.
Thank you, Mr. Prasanna, for sharing your insightful views on hybrid workplace strategy and the role of technology is playing and going to play.
Hello.
Now, I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Jayaraman, Director, System Engineering, Citrix, to deliver his expert presentation. Over to you, Mr. Vijay.
Thank you very much. Many of you would know Citrix as an organization that has enabled employees and users reach applications, reach their workspaces, the digital workspace, and basically enable this entire motion around hybrid work. And we've been doing that for the last 35 years, and that's been core to what we do, right? But what I will do over the next 10 minutes is it's really not a plug on Citrix, but really a table setting on what we would be discussing in the panel that follows, right? And we no one would argue that workspaces, whether digital or whether it is physical, has really evolved and changed probably forever, right? And what has also changed in the last 2 years is the way we live. A little bit, in many cases, the way we live, right? Where we live, the way we order groceries, the way we travel, right? A lot of things has changed in the last 2 years, and we've been getting used to things that we've never done before. We are far more connected to the digital ecosystem than we have ever been. Then that is as far as our lives and the way we live is concerned. And this is obviously also brought about a big sea change in the way we work, where we work from, right? And we all understand this motion around hybrid work, working from anywhere, working from home, right? What organizations have had to contend with is also with the evolution of the work culture. How do they create new real estate strategies, for example? What happens when more than 50% of their personnel come back to the office, right? Do they segregate cubicles? Do they create gangways or corridors that are one way? I mean, there are so many real estate strategies that one would have to rethink, right? What is also enabling this entire hybrid work motion is technology, right? And technology is the reason we are all able to work remotely. And that also has its fair share of challenges, right? And how do you enable work with multiple devices? When people are working in such a distributed environment, that increases the surface area of attack, right? How do you mitigate those attacks? How do you ensure that employees are productive and not distracted while they work from home? And with so many systems that have been built organically over time, right? How does IT provide a seamless experience to all the employees, right? And it's very important that employee experience be consistent across all the work channels. Again, it is employee experience and employee engagement and productivity is what drives bottom line for companies. So the problem that all of us, the IT folks, as well as the vendors and the OEMs here are trying to solve is how do you make the employees more productive? How do you provide an experience to them that makes them want to work remotely also, right? So that's primarily what we're trying to solve here. And there are multiple nuances to this when you talk about employee experience. One is having the employees access the resources, their applications, their desktops, and whatnot securely, right? Zero trust access to all of these resources. Second is being able to help them seamlessly work from anywhere, from any device, right? So that is one part of the equation, which is simplifying and making the access seamless. The second part is making them productive, introducing elements of automation in the workflow so that they are more productive. They don't have to deal with transactional elements in their work life, and making it easier for employees to work together in a team while they are working in a distributed environment, right? So there are both these aspects that one considers when trying to transform this employee experience, making them a little bit more productive. We've also seen that the evolution of the way applications are getting delivered from one or two data centers earlier. Applications used to get delivered to the branches. There could be 10 branches, 100 branches, thousands of branches, but that used to be the way resources, IT resources, applications, data used to get delivered to the employees and the users, right? That is changed over the last many years actually, but it is accelerated in the last 2 years. Is this entire application movement towards the cloud, adoption of SaaS-based delivery mechanisms, and when one looks at delivering remote access to employees in this distributed environment, looking at legacy architectures would really not be efficient. It would impact the way the workforce experiences the IT systems, right? And in many ways affect their productivity, right? So when we talk to organizations about access to IT resources, access to applications, access to data, right? This is what we hear from them. This is what we talk to them to, right? This is primarily a VPN-less zero trust network access to all of these IT applications, no matter where they're running from. A consistent sort of a means to access all of these resources. Adaptive authentication with multi-factor, and the multi-factor could be anything. It could be facial, it could be biometric, thumbprints, tokens, right? And basically adaptive authentication to ensure that identity is checked, and you have also additional context in terms of where they are logging in from, what sort of device are they coming in from, right? All that is used to provide a very adaptive authentication mechanism that can remove or provide or revoke access based on the context here. Single sign-on, no matter where the application is running, right? Application could be running on one of those hyperscalers. It could be running within one's own data centers, but having a consistent single sign-on experience for users so that they don't have to punch in their passwords, put in their thumbprints, use tokens multiple times when accessing different applications becomes very important to improve productivity. Adaptive security controls based on not only who the user is, but also their context of access, right? Will I be able to curtail access based on where the user is coming from? Would I be able to curtail access based on what devices are they using? Would I be able to control clipboard functions, for example, if the access is deemed as slightly less secure than otherwise? Right, and these are the elements that one takes into consideration when providing access to these resources. Containerized access using virtual apps and desktops. This remains still the most secure way to provide remote access, right? In this case, the data, nothing really leaves your data center. You're providing a sort of a rendered interface to the users with that they can access from any device, absolutely any device. And at the same time still be secure, right? So remains still the most secure means of accessing any applications or any resource. Technologies around browser isolation, where if it's a browser delivered application, can I contain my browser within my own data center or being delivered from a cloud so that the vulnerabilities of the device don't don't really matter, right? Are taken out of the equation, right? So that is the browser isolation piece. And the last is the visibility, the monitoring, the observability when the access as well as the applications getting delivered are so heterogeneous, are getting delivered in such a distributed manner and consumed in such a distributed manner. So visibility and all of this becomes extremely important. And we are not only speaking of access to enterprise resources, it is also access to, for example, the internet that are not necessarily work related. How do you secure that connectivity too, right? And in this very distributed environment, what makes absolute sense is to have these security controls being delivered from the cloud and being as distributed as the users are, right? So many organizations that we speak to talk about making a common framework for enterprise applications access as well as the internet access, and ensuring that there is visibility across the spectrum in a sort of a single a pane of glass, right? So that they have visibility no matter what the employee or the user is doing, right? No matter what device they're using it from, but having a single way to view these events is something that provides a great deal of benefit. And the ability to also, with this, analyze the user behavior and being able to push policies based on this behavior, right, automatically, right? And automation becomes very important, especially in this distributed environment, right? With so many variables, whether it is devices, locations, applications running from where not, with so many variables, I think some elements of automation becomes very, very critical to ensure that these access remains secure. Now, what digitally forward looking organizations are also seeing this pandemic, what we're going through. They're seeing this as an opportunity to streamline and optimize their IT services, right? When they enable hybrid work, how easily can they do it? What are the new systems that needs to be deployed for ensuring that employees remain productive no matter where they're working from? Flexibility in terms of where they can deploy their applications, right? Can I use a DaaS service instead of providing desktops to the users, right? And there are so many different ways in which technology has changed and accelerated over the last 2 years, just to make it easier for employees to access and for IT to also deliver services in a much more elegant way, right? Management, again, very critical piece of this, because again, heterogeneous environment. How do you reduce the number of the management touch points? How do you ensure that you have a single pane of glass? How do you ensure analytics comes into play at scale, right? Whether it is performance, whether it is security, right? How do you ensure that everything is quantified so that you're providing the right experience and the security to the users? And ultimately, what we're all doing this is to ensure the employees remain productive, they contribute to the bottom line, and while doing so, they remain secure. Right? So that is the bottom line to this all. Now, what the panel that follows will also discuss is nuances around how different organizations are enabling hybrid work. How is IT looking at this? How is IT being a partner to the organizations as they work towards this hybrid workforce, which more or less we are certain that this is going to continue, right? And you would see the hybrid workforce in terms of percentages going up and down, but hybrid work is a reality for us, and that would probably continue for some time. And those are the nuances that we will speak about. We'll also speak about a little bit of employee experiences and how employees are reacting to this entire hybrid work motion, right? With that, let me hand this back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay, for sharing your views on the importance of digital security and how organizations provide secure access to application, remote desktops, and data from anywhere. Now, it is time for a powerful panel discussion on a topic of getting ready for hybrid workplace, to be moderated by Mr. Swapnil Bhatnagar, Senior Research Director, Avasant. Over to you now, Mr. Swapnil.
Thank you so much. Thank you and welcome everyone for this panel discussion. I think my job is extremely simple with just following up on what Mr. Prasanna and then Vijay spoke about. But just to set context before I invite um, the esteemed panel that we have, essentially two key things that I want to really talk about today. One is really, as everyone mentioned, the digital workplace or the hybrid workplace is really going to be the way in which businesses will work. And this is a global phenomenon that we're seeing across different industries, different enterprises, and all of those as well. So, for example, over the last couple of, 18 months or so, manufacturing and healthcare industries have really been the fastest growing adopters of hybrid work, and they will continue to do so even after the real rush of the pandemic gets over. Overall, if we look at it, there was a 14% growth in the service providers or the IT service providers clients for the digital workplace services, which is a significant increase from a couple of years ago. And if we look at it, hybrid work models themselves are not a single way. There are actually three distinct models that we're seeing emerging, and the future of work is going to be distributed amongst these models. One is going to be the remote first office optional kind of a model. This is essentially this is really where organizations, and for example, there's a company called Atlassian, which really allowed more than 6,000 staff to really work from anywhere, have some offices available in case they want to move, they want to use certain facilities. But that's, it's primarily become a remote first organization. Then, of course, you have your partly remote, partly office organizations. Google is a good example of that, where around 60% of its employees are expected to come back to the offices, but the remaining 40% will either work remotely or through new locations. And then the third model, which is really coming up quite a bit, is the hub and spoke model. Large organizations are not going to be centrally located in large offices. They're going to identify the clusters where a lot of their employees are present, and they're going to set up smaller offshoot offices in those areas. And the reason I'm talking about these three models is that all of these three models really will rely on a foundation of strong technology, slightly different for each of these three models. But technology is really going to be the underlying foundation and the thread that runs through it. Over the next couple of years, I think some of these models will become so common that we won't even be having discussions such as these. But till we reach that place, I think I'm very, very, very proud to welcome the panel that I have today. These are industry leaders who have been at the forefront of this transition to hybrid working, and extremely happy to introduce the panel that we have today. I think we'll start off with Mr. Dharnidhar Dubey. He is the AVP of Technology for IIFL. Sir. Hi. Along with him, we also have Tejas Shah. He's the Deputy Director of IT for the Villapale Kalavani Mandal. He's here in his personal capacity. Thank you, Mr. Tejas. Then we have Mr. Dinesh Rana. He is the CIO for Moderna. And of course, we have Mr. Vijay Jayaraman, who just did the keynote address a little while back. He is the Director for Pre-Sales Systems Engineering for Citrix.
Thank you,
sir. And closing out, but last but certainly not the least, Mr. Ajit Alose. He's the Head of Sales and Cloud Practice for Ananta Tech.
Right.
Hi. Thank you so much for all of you. So welcome everyone. It's a great, very interesting topic in front of us, and of course, the audience would really love to hear your personal stories of how the last 12, 18 months have been, where digital workplace really came home for the entire industry, and how you were able to kind of turn it around very quickly, very magically in some cases, and ensure that business continuity for your respective organizations, went around unabated. So before we come into the specific questions that I have for you, maybe if you can, maybe we can go around the table and uh, talk about, take a minute or two just to talk about what this topic has meant for you. You know, maybe we can start with you, Mr. Dharnidhar.
So it was in the way, in short period of time during COVID, it has overwhelmed lives and livelihoods of people around the globe. And yeah, I would thank to the mobile revolution, the Android and all that, which came before this, which made us, sort of ready, and lines were going, in a way as if probably everything was getting ready to face this disastrous moment. And digital payment and all that, those things were there already. Only thing was missing is that most of the offices and only 12% of overall organizations, were ready to digitally face that challenge of, being ready for integrated digital workspace force, especially in our case also, being in finance, we have the top priority in terms of data privacy, device privacy, and all that. Um, but sort of, because of these eKYC and those talks, were there, and lots of digital things were happening. Every company trying to, move on those lines, which helped us, to sort of cope up with that sudden stop which COVID brought in. Okay, so that's something we could, face, and sort of we were all ready, because of every company, most of the companies had their digital presence in most of their things moved to mobile devices, handheld devices, and securities were there sort of, but then yes, it needed to be, ramped up to a very large scale in terms of, enabling employees to collaborate seamlessly. They should be able to talk to each other, share data, and all that, and there is should be least possible gap. With the help of cloud, mobile, and things in place already, because of that revolution that happened over past 5 years, in terms of IT transitions, that helped. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a very interesting point. Certainly, as a country, we have been leapfrogging the telecom
Yeah.
value chain quite a bit, and that definitely helped. So it's a very interesting point there, Mr. Dharnidhar. Coming to you, Mr. Tejas, what does this topic mean for you? What were the kind of challenges you faced and solved for?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I think there is some light issue. But anyways, so obviously, uh, hybrid workspace definitely means either you can work from home, you can work from office, or maybe remotely. You have given access to anyone and everywhere. So for us, definitely hybrid workspace, or we can say hybrid mode, is like work from anywhere and anytime. So either you get an access on my mobile, either you get access on iPads, laptops, whatever the case could be. But only intention is to ensure that all the required mode of applications, emails, whatever you need, it is easily accessible to all the maybe IT person or staff. For example, for us staff, we had only maybe emails or something which was a priority apart from SAP or something. But definitely not as stringent as NBFC and banking sector. We are quite open with all the models like cloud or maybe on the mobile. he can give access to anybody anytime. In fact, we have allowed all the staff to use their personal laptops as well to
Okay.
access mails and can work on their require research related works or whatever. So definitely hybrid uh, depends on industry to industry, and for us, we have been giving access to anybody everywhere and on any device which can be feasible. Yes.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. I think the bring your own device acceleration that this help push is also an interesting aspect. We will try to explore that as we go forward in this discussion. Um, I think Mr. Dinesh is probably still having some trouble. Vijay, what about you? I know we've got some of your thoughts in the past, but as a business leader, what did this big shift mean for you? I know that you have been on the forefront of trying to do this kind of a hybrid workplace for many years now, but talk to us about how things changed in the last couple of years for you.
Sure. And I think many of us were really shocked to see how productive we were when even not in offices, right? And I don't think any work for us did not get done in most cases. And obviously, we are speaking from our context here. There are obviously digital haves and have-nots in this, but that's a different topic. But in our environment, absolutely everything worked remotely, right? And we also saw many customers doing things, our customers doing things that they would never have thought a couple of years back. For example, we saw banks doing the unthinkable just 18 months ago, right? Where people are working from home, accessing systems from home, very, very regulated, secure environments, right? So, in fact, apart from manufacturing companies establishing assembly lines at home, everything else became remote, right? And everything works like a charm. And personally, of course, people also got used to my kids being in meetings and probably making a little bit more sense than I do many times. But I think those are the changes that we broadly saw. Technology, of course, some of it accelerated the motion around cloud, accelerated the motion around connecting your indirect ecosystems like your channel partners, your sellers, right? Into your letting them into your systems. That motion also increased, right? For example, many banks when they started selling the banking products for access of these agents remotely, right? So some of those mechanisms were established, right? So a lot of changes in the last 2 years, and as I said, this is something which probably is a one-way street. People have got the taste of blood. We know it's working. It's probably burning out a few people every now and then, but yeah, I think hybrid is something that is here to stay.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. I think I speak for everyone that you're absolutely right that it didn't happen that something was not getting done. In fact, the kind of hours that we put in the first few months before we kind of managed our own selves, they became quite insane, much more stringent than when we were going to the offices.
Absolutely. And one last point is, I've never spoken to HR folks from the customer organizations ever, because we don't really deal with HR related stuff. But the last 2 years, the number of conversations that we have had with human resource facing folks has been as much as the IT side.
Absolutely. And sometimes I do wonder, the HR department actually is quite a bit of an unsung hero in all of this. Traditionally high touch things like hiring, recruiting, appraisals, you never imagined that that could be done remotely. But these guys have, the HR departments, all kudos to them. They've really taken this, imbibed it, and really executed things which not a lot of people thought were going to be possible. So yeah, it's a great point again. Mr. Ajit Loz, Vijay also mentioned, I think, Dharmendra and Tejas as well, that the underlying fabric of cloud, the kind of adoption that has happened, And we at Avasan, we do a lot of research in this in the adoption of technology across different industries. And we actually did a study last year. In fact, it was very interesting to see Mr. Prasanna's presentation had a slide from that, the impact of COVID. Um, Basically, the common theme that emerged was organizations which were already or were more progressive about adopting cloud were the ones who came out on the other side much more successful and resilient than any of the organizations which were, still taking baby steps on towards cloud. So, from that context, and as a key enabler for that, what are your thoughts around the topic that we're discussing today?
Yeah, Swapnil, first of all, thank you so much for having me on this panel. Yeah, so obviously, like every disaster also brings an opportunity. This was probably one of the worst that mankind has ever seen in the last 100 years. But it also brought a great opportunity. As you rightly said, there were organizations which embraced virtual desktop or hybrid workspace, at some point of time, because Ananta, Citrix has been in the Indian market for the last 25 plus years. We have been in the market for last 15 plus years for that. So there were organizations which embraced this technology, and probably they had a early mover advantage. But given the fact that everything came to a standstill overnight, um, companies did embrace the technology, and Citrix as a pioneer in VDI obviously had multiple products which obviously were used and are still being used. Um, like Mr. Prasanna said, banks which were one of the very, very rigid environments, and most of the banks that we, in fact, used to approach always is to have this RBI as this as authority would say, look, they don't allow it. The policies are always in gray, nothing in black and white, which happens most of the times with Indian regulatory authorities, right? But in the last 24 months or other 20 plus months that we've seen almost every bank, irrespective of the size, embracing hybrid work approach. Hospitals, obviously, who had to face the brunt on the front foot. Insurance companies which had to, process those claims, and all the ancillary industries along this hospitalization and ambulances and medical. Some of the unicorn startups which are providing doorstep medical services, including some of them did provide oxygen also during the peak time. So obviously they were the ones who had no other option but to have, because the government did not allow a full-fledged even having the 100% of manpower for this industry also, because we were not aware as to how much is going to hit. But Citrix, as a pioneer in media, obviously had a solution. So, in fact, if we look at our own statistics for the first 8 years or 10 years prior to 2019 or 2020 March, when actually the government put the country to a shutdown. And if you look at the last 18 months, the curve is essentially a diabolic curve where it suddenly spikes, like a mountain. And the reason is because of what Citrix offers as a solution. So, in fact, from a Citrix licensing perspective, they had a cloud which they rolled, and today, we have customers, including some of the largest banks in India, some of the largest hospitals and insurance companies, very having Citrix cloud enabled. And obviously, unlike other OEMs in the same segment, Citrix is completely agile. They are not essentially controlled by a single environment. So we have seen customers using Citrix on Microsoft Azure, on Google Cloud, on AWS Cloud, on Nutanix, on three-tier architecture. So irrespective of the underlying elements, Citrix essentially gives the same amount of what we call as user experience. So, and that has been one of the nicest part that Citrix is. So obviously, yes, while the pandemic brought everyone down to their knees, obviously, companies and thanks to Citrix, obviously, there was a solution. So, like Mr. Dharmendra talked about Android and other options and those payment mechanisms. It was just because of companies like Citrix which would help the entire workforce, irrespective of what location, because most of people were also forced to go out to their hometowns because of hard lockdowns. And people, the only option was people using their own machines or desktops or even tablets for that matter. And as Vijay was saying, that we had to make those workforce productive right from day one, and companies had to operate, and we made those things. And as the pandemic, now we're talking about Europe and US going into another possible third wave, no one knows what's going to happen. Hybrid workforce is here to stay. So and as Mr. Prasanna also spoke about, these things are going to continue. It's not going to be very like what it was life before the pandemic. And if that's going to continue, obviously Citrix hybrid workforce element, which essentially gives you a full secured layer of ensuring that your employees are productive from wherever they are, that productiveness is going to continue. And obviously a lot of investment Citrix as an organization is also doing it. We as one of their partners are delivering services to every kind of customers, be it aviation. Now the aviation sector is coming in. So there is no vertical that is left essentially which is not being using this system. So life is not going to be normal, but having said that, products from Citrix are making as smooth as possible so that people become productive and stay productive during this and the times to come.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks for that, Mr. Ajit. Yeah, as we discussed a little in the past, of course, the technology foundation built on products such as Citrix and other products as well. This is a great opportunity, obviously, in terms of having the prepared foundation to really make this the new normal, the much maligned term right now. Mr. Dharnidhar, just switching over to you, obviously we talked at a high level about, how you kind of face the challenges of a hybrid workplace. But specific to your business, the way you were operating, can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what kind of changes your organization faced? So, for example, the kind of customer requirements, how did they change for you during this period of time? What were the requirements from the employees? How did they change for different groups amongst your employees? And then maybe talk about how you used technology platforms, services, and all of that to sort of bring together and ensure that the business continuity of your organization did not falter.
Um, think it starts from the earlier idea from our previous CTO, wherein we had created, I think, post before even pandemic or 2 years before, we had created a war room. This war room was a small set of highly skilled people in each area and segment, who are to activate in the moment of crisis. If something of that sort, what we went through, happens, those are the people, they have every possible access, and they come in play, with every possible access in their zone. They were capable enough to deal with direct customer needs. So that was the first layer which helped us, our war zone. Meanwhile, we are planning
So,
other
Mr.
activities in sort
Dharnendra,
of that.
Mr. Dharnendra, I have to ask you, in all the scenarios that you ran in the war room, did you ever have a scenario like this pandemic that we actually faced?
No, it was dry run sessions were done with the prior things, but yeah, the quantum was quite huge. Sudden stop that tomorrow, your workforce has to work from home, and there was least time possible even to procure your laptops for them. The
Yeah.
people who have desktops. So we gave away them the desktop itself, and the way the pressure was there on admin team, that's the way they coped up, it was a kind of war experience. I still remember everyone creating inventory of all the systems, and people are for doing formalities, and admin is under huge pressure that each person has the whole access, and then infra team, network team is ensuring that availability of scaling their bandwidth, and our JetScaler and those systems, VPN systems are set to the where uh, which was the what, like like tech support in office or physical locations, people it's individuals going to those, logging their tickets and all that, but then that was not what was going to work in that scenario. It was like different departments, especially tech support and all these guys, going to each user and being connected every moment, to avoid any kind of communication gap. It's like doctor going to patient and likely patient and asking, do you have any trouble? So that level of stuff. But yes, all thanks to our CEO, because he is very forward looking in terms of his experience and interest in tech. So before this, we were sort of very much ready, because he has that liking for whatever comes. Why not we explore this? And if this happens, why not we have a war room? So
Right.
those things were quite off in place. Yes, only challenge was in terms of the. It was, I would say, more than 20-fold or 50-fold than what we could anticipate in a dry run or such situations. And the period, that period was very long enough. Nobody would say, even your natural calamities will not extend up to 2 year or sort of, so that was there. But then, yeah, the way technology has came up, the way things, nobody had thought that your Zoom is going to be the next school for your kids. Nobody had thought that your Google Meet is going to be the next place of your collaboration, where most of the people started from there, and now there is a high scale ramp up. I think it was good in terms of that people and companies who had never thought of
Yeah.
hybrid work culture can work really. There were if and buts, but with this forced pressure, it has become a reality, and people are using it seamlessly, and offices are there, they are operating. And yes, I could not imagine without small thing like your Paytm wallet, or these wallet facilities, GPay and all. Life would have been miserable. People were not willing to touch currency, even the note. If you gave someone,
Yeah.
no, there can be an infectious thing. But then these things helped a lot. A sort of whole humanity was kind of driven to destiny, which came eventually, and everyone sort of faced it.
Yeah.
So tech, yeah, and one good thing has happened actually, especially for techies, that now the whole enterprise and the small, everyone has it recognized that tech is the way ahead, and this has given a good this thing now with your hybrid culture, digital work office. One good thing is that companies are not limited to, when they are hiring, they are not limited to their physical locations. So
Yeah.
this gives a beautiful thing that you are getting resources from remote location, and good quality resources. So that limitation that my resource should report to my office, and if our office is in Mumbai, so he should be from Mumbai. That kind of thing is kind of blurring. Obviously the job type has a thing to it. But yes, if job profile permits to work from remote, I mean, this is going to give a very different type of life to people, especially for Mumbai. Since I'm from Mumbai, so bigger challenge Mumbai had is this huge lifeline train, local train, the crowd. Surprising that got under control because of all this now.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think
And
it's been.
nature, pollutions, if you see the pollution control and all. So everything has sort of got an answer, every challenge which we humans, facing, in terms of the pollution, in terms of whether we are tech, ready, people was not so tech savvy. They understood that yes, tech is the way.
Right, right. Now, actually, coming to you, Mr. Tejas, actually, nearly every speaker here and in the past keynotes have been referring the disruption that has come on the education side, right? I think nearly all of us with kids and dealing with the schools, the online schools, I think it's on the forefront of everyone. But you really had a ringside view of this disruption, right? You've really seen this education disruption from close quarters. My question to you is slightly different. How did you prepare your team to execute some of these changes which no one ever even imagined? Like Mr. Dharnidhar mentioned that there were some dry runs, there were some war room scenarios that were tried in his organization. But I don't think a lot of that was even thought about on the education side. So this was completely out of left field. How did you prepare your teams to adapt to it and then solve for these challenges?
Yeah, I think this is a very good point. So obviously, at the start of this pandemic, we had this collaboration tools like Teams and Zoom and all that. So that has, I think, helped most of the time. And obviously, once we had integrated all our, you can say, uh, modules in it, which was already available earlier also. So we then definitely had make that 100% available online, and there was only communication from the uh, institute to regular students that this is the lecture time and this is the attendance, and regular meeting invite was been sent. So collaboration tool has definitely helped very much in terms of doing our online lectures. Obviously there was many issues like bandwidth issues or maybe system issues at the student area, but definitely they had to somehow manage either from mobile or maybe laptop or whatever they are having it. And at initial level they were doing it from the mobile data, which was quite slow, or maybe someone had done a group attending it via some broadband connectivity. But as the time had gone, everyone had the proper connectivity and it was done. So I would say most of the solution was already inbuilt, but then it was 100% utilized by using these tools, and this was really helpful in terms of giving some assignment, putting some data in it, uploading it. Even the exams were done online by keeping another camera watch that students are not doing it. So that was one of the point which was taken care. And obviously our team had given many trainings to the faculties, saying that this is the step, this is have to be done. They're initially not used to it, but gradually and slowly they came to know all the steps and they started operating for themselves. So that's how the overall journey started, and it was like comfortable once it was in place. I think you are
Swapnil, you're
on.
muted.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. And Mr. Tejas, what's your opinion? Do you think we're ever going to go back to school and colleges the way they were, or is
No, I think
the
definitely.
tipping
I think
point over?
higher classes has already started with 50% attendance on all that, and I think maybe next
Yeah,
6 months, 8 months, I think everyone will start. Maybe maximum of them parents will start giving their consent to attend, and even students wants to be in campus or maybe in school and collaborate with their friends and learn much more
right,
rather than on the screen. So I think another 6 to 8 months and it should start 100%.
right. Um, Vijay, for you, and again, because you kind of cater to enterprises or customers across different industries, what were some of the commonalities in the way customer requirements have changed for your products, services? What kind of changes have you seen in those?
Sure. And when I spoke to customers across manufacturing or financial services, IT, ITES, right, the government space, what the two sort of conversation that was front and center every time was, one was, can you deliver this to me as a service, right? So that was the first one, because when the pandemic started last year, the supply chains were crunched. It was not easy to get compute storage and stuff like that into your data center, right? Because there were no supply lines. And so the shift towards cloud-based services happened very quickly for as a conversation point, and as also the sort of the consumption that we saw from our customers of our services, right? And I think over the last 1.5 years, I think they have most of the verticals have realized that once you get past the security conversation on where it is hosted and things like that, they are seeing the benefits of moving to that cloud and cloud delivered services, right? And multiple reasons why. One is getting out of the never-ending cycle of updates, fixes, right? Having huge amounts of IT manpower just to keep doing that. And you're always on the latest and the greatest now, right? So delivering of services, features, functionality to your end users, I think that's something that most CIOs got sort of used to. And this was our services around virtual apps desktop, whether it is security, whether it is analytics. I mean, or the entire spectrum, everything delivered as a service. So that was the first change that I saw, that these conversations became front and center, and this became primary. The second conversation that we saw was, and not only to the regulated sector, everywhere else, was security and seamlessness of that security, right? So it's not as if an employee reaches out to a resource and he or she is popped up with 10 different things that one has to answer, right? So things have to be seamless, things have to be easy to consume. So that was also a point of conversation across all of these customers, and each of these customers had a slightly different nuance to it. For example, a banking wanted it slightly differently. A manufacturing company with, say, for example, a design studio, right, or design workstations that designers used to work with to create these large CAD/CAM designs and all that, right? How do you have that virtualized, right? So those are the sort of conversations that we had with respect to security, with respect to performance. Now, as people started working more and more remotely, conversation, say, for example, with our banking customers was, can you provide me additional controls, like depending on what the context of the user is when he or she comes and logs in, they be provided clipboard controls. For example, they can copy paste from the screen, or in some cases, I should be able to decide whether what they can do or they cannot do. Can they print or cannot they print, right? I decide what they can do based on the context they're coming from, whether it's a device, whether the location, the time, and whatnot, right? I think broadly these were the two, and each of these conversations had little nuances towards each of the verticals. But I think security, seamlessness, cloud-based consumption services, I think these were the changes that I personally saw, and Citrix in general saw in the last 2 years.
No, that's actually a very significant one. Also, when you talk about the nuance between industries, I think that's a very important point here, because even in the panel that is represented here, I think data security for Mr. Dharnidhar is at a quantum which is not imaginable for any of the others on the panel, actually. Mr. Dharnidhar, do you want to comment a bit around the security and the seamless customer experience? Because the way the processes had to be changed for customers was also a big change that was happening. So you don't want to bring too many changes together for your customer. So how did you balance out the security and the customer experience?
Since our first front face is, the limited touch points to the customer in terms of digital thing, and those are already under control with our security, dedicated security team. In terms of app touch points, those we monitor regularly in terms of access logs, what activities are being done, and there is sort of what do you say, data analysis around the logs, which gives us inputs, which directly comes as a enhancement idea to the dev team. So that is their front face, which has helped us, you know, to ensure uh, that we are keeping tab on those touch points. And having said that, major challenges were there in terms of where KYC and all, when those things, and collections from customers. Customers used to, in lending business, they at times they expect, a person to visit in person and collect documents and all that. But we were sort of, I would say, not 100%, but near 60-65% ready with our automating all this journey online, where we are doing sort of online account opening, collecting, doing KYC through your Aadhaar card and those things. uh, so yeah, it was a challenge, but not a bigger one during crisis. But yeah, post now, when the things are normalizing, we are kind of focusing more, more on bringing in more strength. But the goal has always been during all this, and still now, that customer experience is the paramount, which we are into, onto. Um, I mean, now at this moment, yes, customer is our full focus. Security is there, but then that is automated more or less, because that's an ongoing process. You can't say at a moment that you are fully secure, because the way you are, strengthening your walls, there is a, always a counterpart which is doing research on, how to break that. So yes, that is how it is.
Great. Thanks for that. Mr. Ajit, now I'm sure you are at the forefront of a lot of these transformations that we're talking about across industries. You know, um, if you come across, or if a customer comes to you to plan, or to develop or looking for your advice to develop their own hybrid workforce strategy or approach, what would be your advice to them? What would be some of the key points that you think they should keep in mind as they build out their hybrid workplace as the new normal for them?
Yeah, one of the most important parameters that we always ask our potential customers is what kind of user experience are you looking at? Because in the good old days, most CIOs that we met always spoke about IT uptime at the data center level. So everyone would, any CIO that you had used to take on a fancy, nice, glass-looking plane and say, look, all the lights in that room are green, so I'm giving you a 99.4969. I don't know how many nines is to count. Says everything is done. But if you just walked up to the floor and asked the guy, so your CEO is talking about a 6-9 uptime. How does that mean? And he would say, sir, every morning I take 1 hour to switch on my machine, but it's okay because he's a CIO, and I can't go and think, because I would be rather losing the job. What Citrix has essentially done is, the user experience is obviously of a different, because as Prasanna and other speakers spoke about, even Tejas spoke about, right? Today the user experience is it counts, because unlike the people of my age, now I've got more gray hair probably on the panel. The millennials and the new ones, they don't fear. They are job hoppers who would essentially leave a job because probably Facebook was not allowed in that office. Because they demand things which essentially is most CIO's nightmare. So giving an environment which essentially puts all the tick marks from a CIO or a CISO's this thing from ensuring that the data is obviously within the four corners. You do not allow print or copy paste or take the data, and because there are a lot of rules, whether it's PCI DSS, whether it's your GDPR, whether it's your HIPAA, ITRUST, depending on what regulation you want. The environment that Citrix essentially provides via their DaaS, which is like desktop as a service, and that essentially what we look at what the customer, the end user wants, because unlike in the past where VDI was looked at a back office or task office or essentially to the lower end, today we have customers, and we have CISOs, CIOs, including some of the largest banks, CEOs using their emails through a VDI platform, and that is because the user experience is exactly the same as a traditional laptop or a desktop. And essentially, at the end of the day, operations have to deliver, IT has to deliver, to operations, saying that you have this X user requirements, and as long as I can get all those applications through the VDI environment and still have a better uptime. And essentially because what used to happen is, the IT is to always been seen as, that IT is down, not available, printer configuration taking time, scanners getting different. So I was talking about all these user cases of, hospitals or insurance companies who have a different, applications to process the claims and everything. Today with virtual desktops from Citrix, essentially what has unified is the user gets the kind of flavor and content the way he or she desires. CISO is getting enjoying and having a peace of mind that the data is not going to move out of the system, and no matter from where the user is accessing, the data doesn't exactly reside on the endpoint but in a central server which is completely under lock and key. So all three elements are getting essentially resolved. So when we talk to potential customers, we ask them what are your perennial problems or your end user problems, and we design from there and go back to the data center instead of we designing an uptime. And the user always has a problem, that every time there's a printer change or a application change or infrastructure change, it takes me years, rather hours or days trying to figure out what I have to do it. So end user essentially is the new customer for us, and it can be in any side. It can be finance, HR, design, or just a back office. And IT essentially is an enabler today, and that's essentially what we want to, and essentially that is what is being followed by most CIOs. I haven't seen a CIO who's now living in that closed room saying that, look, we will dictate the terms to business and let business be happy with what they give them. Those days are gone, and today the end user essentially and the business, depending on what kind of business you have. So if it's healthcare, the nursing station is an area which has to be always kept on, or the billing section has to be always upon. It's no longer just like any other department, because they are the revenue making for that industry, and if those are down, nothing else matters for that. So our advice to our potential customers is, have your list of applications, or who are your 5 top user
categories, and when we do the proof of concept, depending on what they want to achieve, obviously we have a what you call as a checklist as to that these are the success criteria, and as long as we deliver on success criteria, the product essentially is success. And we haven't come across any success criteria that that we were not being able to take a application from a physical desktop or a laptop onto a virtual desktop. So those days essentially are gone, and that is obviously what Citrix helping. I mean, they are the OEMs of the product. They have a product, and today they have a use case for everything, whether it's a hybrid on-premise, combination of on-premise and hybrid on cloud, hybrid cloud. So obviously they have it. We being one of their partners essentially make sure that that we deliver on the promises that the product was built for.
Yeah. No, this is actually very, very significant. I think the key point here, Mr. Ajit, that you raised, I think all businesses now are B2C businesses. I think the term B2B business does not exist anymore. The kind of expectations that the business customer has are as intense and as fickle as what the B2C companies used to deal with. And I think it's really good advice that you're giving to your customers, because this is a great change in mindset. I think across the entire value chain. So it's really, really great points. Very happy that we could derive this point out from the conversation. We are running a little short on time, so despite the great conversation we're happy having, maybe just a quick summarization from what I heard so far. I think is that hybrid is definitely here to stay. Hybrid workplaces are, pretty soon they're going to become so normal that we won't really be talking about them. That is the way business will be conducted across most industries. The challenges around customer experience and security will be the biggest things to solve for, and that's where technology products, technology services, and technology evangelists will have to come together to make sure that these issues are seamless. The customer, the B2C customer, the B2B customer have a seamless experience at the same time remaining safe and scalable as well. So I think it's been a great discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Dharminder, Tejas,
Thank
Vijay, and Rajit.
Pleasure.
Appreciate your time today and some great thoughts here. Thank you so much. Back to you, Bishop.
Thank you
you.
so much, Swapnil.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sopnil, and all the panelists for enlightening us with your views. We have now completely exhausted our time. On behalf of Tech Observer Magazine, Citrix and Ananta, I would like to say thank you to our speakers and attendees for taking out their time for today's program. Hope the discussion, presentation, and keynote address were fruitful for you. We look forward to hosting you again. Thank you very much.